We are joined now by the current Attorney General of Virginia, Jason Miyares, who is right now in the midst of a very close race against Jay Jones, who is the Democrat nominee. We were just playing a lot of cuts from the governor's debate last night, Jason, which I'm assuming that you watched in full. And for people out there who have not heard, I jotted down a lot of the awful things that Jay Jones said, and we'll run through them. But can you believe that he's still running for the office of Attorney General based on the stories that are out there right now about calling for someone's kids who was the Virginia Speaker of the House to die to send them a message saying they're being raised as fascists? It's truly vile and reprehensible. And I was kind of stunned that anybody would say it, much less somebody who's running to be the chief law enforcement officer of a state.
Yeah, I got to admit, as Attorney General, your number one job is to stop violence. I can't imagine someone running for this position has advocated for it. And, part of why this has been so surreal for me is I previously, prior to being Attorney General, I served in the General Assembly in Virginia with Jay and Todd Gilbert. Todd is a personal friend of mine. In fact, during session, me, him, and another legislators would get an Airbnb. He was my roommate during session. He's a personal friend. I know Jennifer. So does Jay Jones. Jennifer Gilbert would come to the assembly. Jennifer Gilbert would bring her children. You would see them running down the hall or on the House floor. So this wasn't some hypothetical. Part of what makes this so startling to me was the fact that at the ages of Todd's children, when he sent these text messages, was they were 2 and 5 years old.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, Clay, when this first broke, my team was all like, you've got to get a statement out. And I said, just stop. I need some time to process this. Because just imagine this, politics aside, imagine somebody saying this about a friend of yours and their family. Imagine how you would feel. And so the idea that he would say this about someone he knows, someone he's worked with, children that he has met, I think has just made this at a different level that has just astonished me. And, that it seems like you are seeing a few Democrats outside of Virginia that clearly have indicated they can't vote for him. But as far as right now, the political class in Virginia right now is saying these are horrible texts. He needs to be held accountable, but they don't say what accountability looks like. I think Virginia voters are going to hold him accountable for sure.
Well, Attorney General Miyares, I got to ask, the moment where on the debate stage, and we played it for this audience just a few minutes ago, where the lieutenant governor asked Abigail Spanberger if she still endorses Jay Jones for Attorney General. How can you have somebody who is hoping to be governor who can't even say that the attorney general from her or the would-be attorney general from her party has her full endorsement? It just seems like this is should be a non-starter.
Well, it's clear that's where we are now. And just to remind people that Abigail Spanberger had asked for Ralph Northam's resignation as governor, the previous governor, over a 30-year-old yearbook photo. But to your point, I think there should be a question asked of every elected Democrat or even elected official on either side of the aisle in Virginia. If someone was applying for a job to work in your office and it came out during their vetting that they had sent these, had expressed these sentiments, and had actually wished or so they hoped a 2 and 5-year-old child would die in their mother's arm, would you still hire them? Well, then the extra question, if the answer is no, then why would you vote to elevate this person to be literally the top prosecutor in the entire Commonwealth of Virginia? And it just shows, and just for your listeners to realize the background, like what set Jay Jones on this path is he was very upset that Todd Gilbert had said nice words in memory of a moderate Democrat that served in the assembly that had passed away. He was angry that Todd was saying something nice about a member of his own party. And his response was that he wanted to be able to piss on the graves of his political opponents. Think about that, where you're coming from. And for your listeners, I keep a sign in my office in Richmond. It's one of my favorite quotes from Thomas Jefferson, and it is this: I have never found a difference of opinion in politics, philosophy, or religion to be cause to withdraw from a friend. It's just a reminder for me in my job that I may disagree with you politically. I'm not going to withdraw my friendship for you. I have met with victims. I have never once asked a victim of a crime whether they ever voted for me, what party they are. I don't care. My job is to be the people's protector of everyone. That's such a different mindset of someone who says, I would like to see my political opponents have two bullets in their head. And when he's texted by his colleague, Jay, you're literally saying you're hoping that Jennifer Gilbert's children die in her arms. Your response is yes, because it is only through pain that change occurs. Well, that is an incredibly dark worldview to think that you have to inflict pain on individuals to somehow achieve a political objective. We have some chapters in our history, obviously, as our country, but we settled a long time ago. We don't settle our differences with bullets. We settle them at the ballot box, and that's a sign of a vibrant democracy. And so I do think this election now in Virginia is not about right versus left. It's about right versus wrong. It's about a basic standard of decency. And candidly, it's just nationwide. What is a signal that can you say anything you want about your opposition, even saying you hope violence against their family, and there not be a political price? And I trust Virginians are going to get it right. But I think the stakes here for the larger nation is a sobering one.
Let me hit you with some of those quotes. You mentioned them a little bit. I am reading from the New York Times, which actually managed to cover it today. At one point, Jay Jones, as you said, remarked that he would, quote, piss on the graves of Republican delegates when they died. He went on to say that if he had two bullets in a gun and his choice was to shoot Adolf Hitler, the former Cambodian dictator Pol Pot, or Virginia House Speaker Todd Gilbert, a Republican, that he would shoot Mr. Gilbert twice. And he said, spoiler, put Gilbert in the crew with the two worst people you know, and he receives both bullets every time. He also said that he hoped that Jennifer Gilbert's children would die, and he didn't back down. He said, yes, I've told you this before. Only when people feel pain personally do they move on policies. He then said, I mean, do I think Todd, who was the Speaker of the House, and Jennifer, his wife, are evil and that they're breeding little fascists? Yes. I mean, this is vile things that Jay Jones is saying. So are you surprised? You mentioned that there are some Democrats out of the state that are saying, even Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear said, yeah, I would have trouble voting for Jay Jones. He's the Democrat governor of Kentucky. Are you surprised that Virginians in the Democrat Party so far are staying rock-ribbed behind Jay Jones, given what he did, what we know that he said?
Yeah, I mean, I am surprised. I candidly am very surprised. But I do think that there has been a disconnect between the political leadership and where everyday Virginians are. Obviously, it's something I am hearing about constantly when I am out talking to individuals. But think about this as well. What this also tells me about my opponent is that he's never actually met with real mothers that have actually lost their children to violence. I have.
Yeah.
I have met the moms of murdered victims, and I can tell you that right now. There is no cry like the cry of a mother that has lost her child. There's nothing like it. It is soul-searing. And once you've actually experienced that, you can't even imagine that on anybody, even if they're your political enemy. But it just shows that he's not prepared. He's obviously reckless with his judgment, and he has a worldview that is completely incompatible with this office, period. And don't forget, it also has come out that he apparently told another colleague that as far as police violence, that he said if you could get rid of qualified immunity to sue police personally, and maybe if some cops died, then actually they would change their behavior. And so you've seen the Fraternal Order Police and a host of other law enforcement organizations also have come out. You had a group of sheriffs and Commonwealth attorneys in Virginia say that he should not stay in the race. So you've seen law enforcement has come out quite forcefully saying we don't want him to be the top prosecutor in the state, period. And so you have seen, I think, not surprisingly, an enormous amount of courage from our law enforcement heroes that have come out quite forcefully, a lot of which are apolitical. The Virginia State Police Association, which normally rarely ever delves into anything slightly political, has come out quite forcefully about these remarks. Because the hardest thing for me is attending the end of watch funerals for officers that have died in the line of duty. That is by far the most difficult moment that you'll ever have as a public official. You realize it's the hardest job in America. And you just sit back and you think, I can't imagine, not that I think we'd ever attend, but somebody who actually has wished, because when you talk to these family members, and they talk about the job and the burden of the badge and what it means to carry the shield every day. And earlier this year, I attended the end of watch with Officer Cameron Gervin and Officer Christopher Reese. They died February 22nd of this year. 2 officers in Virginia Beach gunned down in the line of duty. You talk to those family. Cameron left behind a wife who had just found out she was pregnant with a baby girl. I mean, you get those stories, you meet these law enforcement guardians, and you realize what Jay Jones has said, this worldview of violence against individuals to advance agenda, is so outside of the normal frameworks. I think he's disqualified himself from the job.
Attorney General Miyares, could you just tell everybody with the couple of minutes we have left, what have you done as Attorney General that has had real impact, that you're proud of, that has shown the kind of law enforcement focus in the... I love Virginia. It's a state that it's like a top 5 in terms of time spent state for me, I would say. So I have family in Charlottesville. I'm very, very fond of Virginia. Tell everybody what you've been doing in your state.
Well, listen, when I came in the office, Virginia had a murder rate at a 20-year high, violent crime rate at a 30-year high, the highest levels of addiction deaths ever recorded. And I had this novel idea, Clay. I said, I'm gonna work with law enforcement, not work against them. We also saw that we had unacceptable violence. Our murder rate was driven by violence in certain areas of the state, certain of our localities. We saw that 5% of felons were committing over 50% of the violent felonies. So we went after these repeat violent offenders, by the way, a lot of which are in the narcotics trade. City of Roanoke alone, for example, 0.12% of the population of the city of Roanoke. That's 1/5 of 1%. We're committing over 30% of the homicides. So we went after this small subset of repeat violent offenders. We investigated them, we indicted, we prosecuted them, and the murder rates dropped dramatically. City of Roanoke, 62% drop in our murder rate. We've had a double-digit drop in our violent crime rate. Our ceasefire cities, a huge reduction. More people are alive today. We prosecuted and got enough fentanyl off the streets that would have killed 7 million Virginians. Record settlements against some of the opioid manufacturers that has gone to treatment. So Virginia is not top 10. We're not top 5. We are now the number 1 state in the entire country in the overall drop in addiction deaths. So from this record high of addiction deaths to this number 1 in the country in the drop, huge drop in reduction in our violent crime. I say, as Attorney General, I'm the people's protector. I protect all Virginians, whether they're Republican, Democrat, or Independents. We're proud of that record. I've said Virginian safety has been my mission from day one. That's what I'm asking Virginians to rehire me to continue to do that good work. And definitely don't hire somebody to be the top prosecutor who, A, has never been a prosecutor a day in his life, B, has a legislative voting record of voting against police and against victims, and C, literally has advocated for violence against his political opponents and said he hopes to see their children die. He's simply unfit and disqualified for this office.
Attorney General Miyares, appreciate what you've done, sir. And we know our audience is going to get out there in your state, those who are listening who live there, and help you pull this one over the finish line. Thanks so much.
Yeah, standwithjason.com. Standwithjason.com. Thanks so much for having me, Clay. Great to be with you.
Absolutely. All right. Look, I've taken on a lot of writing lately, and I'm having a lot of fun doing it. It's work, but it's work that can benefit you a lot. Because when I'm not on the radio, I've been creating a weekly e-newsletter, and we've called it Money and Power. And the reasons are obvious. If you subscribe, you'll see for yourself. It's a one-of-a-kind opportunity, I think, designed to help ordinary people capitalize on the huge wealth explosion that's being created by what I call the Manhattan Project 2. I've combined the information that I have with access to people in D.C. who make the decisions, titans of industry all across the country, and of course, Wall Street expertise to bring you ideas that can level the playing field so everyday folks like you can finally get a fair shot in the markets. All the details can be found at insider2025.com right now. Join our movement today. Get 82% off. You'll be so glad you did. Go check it out. Insider2025.com. Paid for by Paradigm Press.
Hey, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel.
And be sure to hit that like button.